welcome to Power of Story podcast. We share personal testimonies that reveal life's ups and downs, from victories to lessons learned. Join us for stories that connect, inspire, and change how we see the world. Don't miss out on this journey of discovery and connection. To Power of Story. In today's episode, our guest was transformed from a challenging childhood to a career as a professional dancer into an inspirational relationship coach with a passion for teaching that took him from Japan to Bangkok. He began exploring the dynamics between journey led to the creation of the project Equinox, aimed to sharing his profound insights. And now in the third phase of his life, he is dedicated to helping people worldwide developing excellence, communication skills, and healthy relationships. And join us today as we listen to the story of Andre Paradis. Welcome to the podcast. It's so nice to have you here. How are you?
Thank you. I'm very well. We just shared a little bit before we started recording. I'm in Los Angeles and born Canadian, made my way to Los Angeles, created a life, kind of a fantastic life. But it was an adventure, and I don't take anything for granted. You know, there's something about living the life that you wanted to build, and I never will get used to it. I appreciate it every day. I thank God for it every day. I wake up, the sun's out, I sit out front, I meditate, and then I go to work with my clients, and it's just, I'm a blessed man, let's just say.
Beautiful. That's good. So I was kind of curious, how did your childhood experience shape your perspective on relationships and communication?
Well, so it's a bit of a story, but in a nutshell, what happened is I'm number 4 kid out of 5. I'm the third boy. And I was 5 years old when I realized there was something somehow that was wrong. I could always tell something was wrong. Something was wrong. Even as a toddler, I was a baby. I always had this memory, a feeling of like, what's going on here? Like something was wrong. So I was 5 years old when I actually put my thoughts and my feelings together. And I realized in a moment, until I was sitting in the stairs after something had happened, and I realized that I figured it out. I was born in the wrong family. These were not my people. I didn't belong here. Something is actually wrong. Now, you can imagine how terribly terrifying it is as a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Like terrifying. And so, and on some level, I realized I was on my own. No one's going to protect me. I was going to have to take care of myself and sort of make the best of it. What happened with that moment, which was, again, still baffling to me. What happened is, in order to kind of survive this or manage this, or what do you do with this at 5 years old? My entire nervous system and focus became outward, looking at the world like a radar, watching people. First, to understand how that's possible. Do you know what I mean? How is it possible? How can you be born in the wrong family? How can you be born with the people that you don't belong with? Who made the mistake? How does that work?
Or even to have that thought as a 5-year-old, that's deep.
It's deep, but it's so, how is it, like, what do I do with this? You know? So I became an observant of everything. I was the kid in the corner watching everything. Like vigilant, watching people, watching the world, watching life, trying to understand this thing that didn't work for me somehow, or that, So I was lucky enough that I wasn't so odd that I didn't have any friends. I always had like one good friend through school, but we're the outsiders and kind of looking at the world from the outside, and something about that is fascinating though, because I became intuitive. With energy and sensing things and people. I became like, this is kind of a tool that kind of refined on its own just by doing this, kind of all the time. But ultimately, it was like me trying to figure this out and just watching. So that's how, with this kind of system in place, I became, as the older I got, the more I was fascinated with the human condition, fascinated with human beings, you know. And I remember, like, in junior high, in high school, like watching the guys who had swag. You know, like, how do you have swag at 15? You know nothing, but some guys have swag, right? And the girls like, ah, and there's the geeks and the dorks and the brainiacs and all of that. Like, so why, how, why? The same with the girls, right?
Yeah.
The pretty girl that leads the clan and the, you know, like that whole like wash dynamics and who gets together, fascinating. So that sort of was my introduction, lifelong, you know, into watching people.
Oh, that's great. You did some dancing. How, when, because you seem like what you just said. You were, can I call you a shy kid? Were you shy?
Oh yeah, no, I was
That corner, just looking and observing.
absolutely.
So how did you go from that shy boy in the corner to dancing? Because I'm thinking dancing takes a lot of guts. Like I can't dance because I'm
Right,
afraid what people think.
right,
Or
right.
the wrong
So,
thing.
so this is when it gets interesting, I think, because you know, throughout this whole thing, I was a kind of a sad little kid. You know what I mean? I was basically just sort of low energy, kind of just. It was weird. But I went to a private high school. So by senior year in high school, I actually went to a new school that went into the pre university. So it's a 3 year program. So my it's a new school, and I you had to you it was just like college. You could actually pick your classes and do all this stuff. So even though it was high school, there was introduction to being a grown up and framing your life. Anyway, so what happened is we had to sign up for all the classes the week prior, and this girl comes up to me that apparently she knew who I was. I did not know her personally. She wasn't a good friend or anything. Um, Comes up to me. She goes, oh my God, you know, I want to do ballroom for PE, physical education. The school of fancy, there was ballroom lessons for PE. And she goes, but you know, we need to sign as a couple. Do you want to dance with me? You want to do PE with me? You want to ballroom with me? And I remember, like,
Oh,
I didn't even know she knew I existed, right? The kid that blends into the wall. And she was just like this tall, this cute little thing. And I remember thinking, oh, I get to dance with her? Hell yeah. Right. Because again, I was the
sign
guy.
me up.
Right. Sign me up. It was kind of a impromptu, like just a moment, like that changed my whole life. That moment changed my whole life.
That's
So a week later, when ballroom class, and if you know, I think the first thing we learn is a cha-cha. So I have the girl in my arms because they teach, you know, there's a frame to hold the partnership frame, the ballroom frame, where my space, your space coming together, we create a frame and a togetherness. Teacher's on my right, and this was a surprise. Whatever he did, I could instantly just copy it.
oh, that's amazing.
That was amazing.
That's
Right now,
amazing.
I'm 15, 16 years old, right? And all of a sudden, the awkward kid
Has
who blends
moves.
in kind of has this talent. So everything he did, I could just repeat a copy. It was crazy. Like I knew this before. I don't know how to explain it, but I didn't. So 4 months into it, I'm the dancing queen. I mean, dancing king in class, right? So I become the stud. I become the assistant to the teacher, who's a male, and all of
Oh,
a sudden I'm a star.
so you went
Uh,
from nothing to somebody. Ooh,
all Yeah, all the girls want to dance with me because I could dance. Because the other guys struggle because they, right? Okay, so that's interesting. So from invisible to visible. And
mm-hmm.
we started doing performances in the, you know, every quarter we had a performance in the the big gym, right? I mean, the auditorium at the school. And then we started performing outside the school because we created a little company and stuff, like, to promote the ballroom in school, to promote the school. So, like, it was amazing. It was amazing. So on stage performing, dancing. The thing about that is that very first class, when I kind of, and people who are artistic kind of understand that, singers especially, I think, when you create a vibration in your body and you connect that with music, like the vibrations coming together moves your soul. This anyone can explain it. You see singers sometimes they hit a note and they start crying. Like there's something, it just, right. So vibrations that blend. right? Just creates magic. And that's, I think, why we love art and music, and it moves us. So for me in that class, I think it's the first time in my life that I actually smile. Moving my body to the beat and meeting the beat. Like, like it lifted my spirit. It
Alive.
just
You're feeling
it
alive.
made it literally brought life into me.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to do.
No,
So
that
I that's how that started. Did the whole 3 year at the college, moved to Vancouver, BC, and that's when there was no ballroom on the West Coast, which is a bit weird. There was absolutely zero ballroom available. I was a ballroom dancer by then. I did all I had all the dances, but on the West Coast there was nothing. So um, I ended up in a jazz class or jazzercise class with the jazz hands, which is not at all what ballroom dancers do, right? They don't stretch in ballroom. You just change your shoes. You don't even change your clothes. This is like, like headbands and leg warmers and all that ridiculousness. But get this. So I started, that's the only kind of dancing that I could access at the time. And I started taking class on a Saturday morning, did a couple of times, and then kind of a couple of times a week. Again, it made me smile. It was a big struggle because I was not, it's a whole different story, right? Ballroom dance, I mean, jazz dancing is a whole different type of, a whole other level of coordination, flexibility, and technique. But get this, in 3 months, showing up as a regular at the studio, they gave me a scholarship.
oh, so you were just a natural. This was a gift. You just
This
had it
is a gift. This is actually a gift. Yeah.
as a gift. Yeah.
It was so like, but it took me a minute to even understand it really fully, right? So I started doing, I get a scholarship, and then I get another scholarship, I get another scholarship. And so I never paid for the training. I was raised, my family were all professional. My two brothers are lawyers. My sister's a CPA. My little brother's a CPA. I was going to be an architect, but on the West Coast on my own, there was no means to do any of that. I was just basically, kind of scrounging by and surviving. So I was working like construction as the guy who picks all the crap on the ground, and the guys who lifts all the cement bags and the bricks and the
Yeah.
stones. And I was a laborer, right? Like the guy at the bottom of the pile. I didn't have any skill. I was, a kid. So I would do construction and go dancing. Anyway, scholarship, scholarship, scholarship. Still have my eye on going back to school sometimes, and maybe could become I want to be an architect. It's an artistic kind of a drawer, whatever. But this dancing thing keeps stepping in front of me, and scholarship, scholarship, and then I ended up the one that kind of threw me the most is I there was at one point I says it looks like this is for me to do, like it kept happening, like it kept stepping in front of me. It was pulling me. I wasn't going for it. It was pulling me. It just kept happening.
Opportunity just came all the time.
Well, yeah, and again, another scholarship. So at one point, I thought I'm going to give this. Doesn't make any sense to me to make a living dancing, right? Doesn't make any sense, especially in Vancouver, Canada. There's no market. There's no TV. I mean, there's nothing really. But I thought, you know what? I'm gonna go with this maybe for a couple of years and see what it takes me. Because if it's not for me, I need to know.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just not try and think my whole life I should have tried. Do you know what I mean? So I thought let's follow this thing for a couple of years and see where it takes me. So as I got more serious about it, at one point they said, well, you need to really structure your body. Like you have to get back to the basic and go to classical stuff in order to get your alignments right, to get your strength right. So now we're talking ballet. Okay. All right, ballet. So,
Smart
okay,
discipline.
that's a whole different beast again, right? Talking about stepping it up.
Yeah.
At the time, I'm just like in my 20s, I'm early 20s, right? So I haven't been dancing since I was 6 years old and 7 years old, like the people who make a living at this stuff, right? I was not going to be a classical ballet dancer. I didn't want any of that. That's not exciting enough for me, but the structure, the frame, the strength, the alignment, get it.
Hmm.
So this is when I kind of click this whole thing together. I go to we used to call it the Korean Castle. There was a company in Vancouver called the Go Ballet Company, GOH. That was the family last name. It's a Korean family, and they had this huge castle of a studio painted pink, and they were like the elites, right? Like even ballet dancers were intimidated going there because the Koreans have these incredible technique in the legs. The girls would put their legs by their ear and just smile doing it, and they were super like they're quite like the Chinese can be. The Asians, you know this, they get to be when you watch the shows that they produce. There's a high quality of everything, right? The intensity, the technique, the
Yeah,
style,
exactly.
the
Intense.
finesse. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, so it's the place intimidated people. So, but I'm like, Eve, I'm going to take this seriously. So every studio has
You
an up.
did it, didn't you?
What? What'd you say?
I said that's where you started. You went straight to the castle.
Well, like if you got to take this seriously, you got to go where people are serious, right? And so they
So
always
you,
offer, right? So I take class as, a novice on the outside, not part of the company, part of any of that. Open. They call it open class to the public, and they give me a freaking scholarship.
that's amazing.
Now
That's
that
amazing.
was weird. So this is what I'm knowing. This is what I thought. Like, okay, what this is sort of right,
Yeah.
and this is when I finally understood. It's part of
That's
I
you.
my
Yeah.
my brain was quick. I could copy everything I saw, so that's the ability, right? But my body. So this is the first time the guy said to me, he goes, "Look at your structure. You have the perfect skeleton. You built for this. Your feet, your hips, your turnout, the ratio from your legs to your hips and from your waist to your shoulders, and the shoulders are broad and the hips are small. You're strong like a moose. Then you have style and finesse." And like, okay, all right. Because I'm like, I'm not a ballet dancer, but I'm built for it. I'm built for the anyway. So that's when I'm like, okay, we're gonna give this a real shot. So I train in every aspect. I wasn't gonna be a ballet dancer, but got the frame, got the technique, got the style, got the strength, right? But I was mainly a jazz dancer, commercial jazz dancer, stuff you see on television and music videos in those days. And I realized as well because the thought was always to move to Los Angeles because that's where the business is. If you're going to be making a living at acting or dancing or singing, you have to go with it, with where the juice is. So I
Yeah.
was going to make my way eventually to the United States somehow. I didn't know how, but I realized because I went back and forth quite a bit to check it out.
Yeah.
But I realized the training I was getting in Vancouver with my jazz dancers, my private coach, my ballet teachers, I was getting the best training in the world for free, all for free.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff, right? So I thought I want to really just get tuned in here when I'm like professional level. I'll make my way down there. So I'm still on story. I'm sorry, but so
No, no, no. This is great.
so get this. As I settled, I started teaching. I started teaching at the university. I made a living now teaching dance, right, at the studios, local studios, and the local university. And that was my ongoing, and between when I was in teaching, I was dancing because again, it made me happy, made me smile, and kind of saved my life because that's what allowed me to breathe into my life. And the
And be
depressed
who you
kid
are
fell
today.
behind. Yeah,
And
the dead kid, the sad kid kind of slipped behind. I got healthier and healthier as my chemistry cleaned up because I was happy.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I didn't think I was going to really be here long. The way I started, I didn't really think I was going to go far. But this literally saved my life. So as I
And
kept developing, go
having the
ahead.
right mindset. I feel like when the opportunity was given to you, because it was just hey, let's sign up for this. The
Yeah,
opportunity was there, and you didn't let fear hold that back, right? You were just like, yeah, okay, let's try it.
yeah,
Just
and at the
it's so
same
good,
time, yeah,
good.
no, at the same time, it was so like, what, really? Okay, like what? Oh, okay, like I had no ego about this because I didn't know anything really. It just kept
Yeah,
evolving. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
And
So, oh, okay.
that's
So
good. So, how did you go from Vancouver to Los Angeles and then teaching across border? You
here it
got to
goes.
and
So
Bangkok.
absolutely. So what happens is, as I'm going back and forth to Los Angeles, just pick up style, pick up different, like everything is trending in Los Angeles. So everything kind of starts there in the world of music, choreography, video, blah blah. You know what I mean? So like, I kept flying in and out just to take class in Los Angeles to kind of grab the style as I'm getting better training up north for technique and strength, whatever. So back and forth, and also in the summer, part of the dance business is summer programs, summer schools, summer's roundups, summer tours. So there were guys from Los Angeles. There were teachers, men and women from Los Angeles, that would come around and to make the tour of the Vancouver local area for 5 or 6 weeks during the summer. A week, 1 week at this studio, 1 week at this studio, 1 week at this studio. You know what I mean? And it would that was their summer money, if you want. So one of the guys that came up on a regular basis that actually choreographed for some of the numbers that we, because I was by then I was dancing also in a small company doing like local shows. Um, he came out to choreograph some of our stuff. So he asked me one day, he said, listen, choreographers in Los Angeles, like actors, have their demo reel, right? A reel of their work to showcase, to give to the Asians, to give to producers and directors to hire them. So it's like, instead of, you don't audition, you send them your reel, you send them your video. So he was making his demo reel for his choreography work. So he says to me, he goes, listen, I'm doing my reel. I want you to be dance captain. Why don't you come down to Los Angeles for a couple of weeks? You could stay in my house. We'll do the demo. We'll do the demo. You could be dance captain. I like the way you
Move.
lead and move, but it's also the way that I could lead a
Yeah.
group, because he saw me teach, right, and all that stuff. And so he goes, "What do you say?" So I'm like, "Yeah, just go to LA for a couple of weeks. I'm going to be on vacation." So me and my girlfriend go to Los Angeles. We got in town on a Thursday night, right, for a couple of weeks. Friday we had rehearsal, and I met everybody, the dancers, and started working on choreography and rehearsing. Saturday night in that studio where we actually had the rehearsal, there was a party. There was a dance party. There was a local dance party for like professional dancers. All the people that do what I want to be doing
Are there?
are there. So I'm in LA, we're at the party.
Hi, you're a lucky guy.
The what? I'm a lucky
A
guy.
lucky
My life is
guy. Yeah.
ridiculous. My life is ridiculous. My life is a movie.
Oh, that's so good.
So I'm in LA with my girlfriend. We're dancing. Whoa, we're in the studio, and all the people. Everyone's 25 years old. Everybody's in the industry. Everybody's doing what I want to be doing. But I'm right. So at one point, in the corner, everybody's 25 years old. But I turn around, and in the corner of the room, there's this older gentleman who's looking at me. And every time I turn around, he's looking at me, and he's looking at me, and he's looking at me. And I'm like, oh, okay, so we're in LA. I got it. Okay, not funny, whatever. And I keep
Oh,
turning my back to him, right? Like, it's weird. It's just weird. But then at one point, I turn around, and my friend who asked me to come down to help him is talking with this older gentleman, and they're looking at me, talking about me, obviously. Like, I see I'm like, what the hell is he doing?
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
what's he doing? Talking to the old guy and looking at me, like,
What's going on here?
what's going on here, right? So he was gay, my buddy, right? But he knows I'm straight. He was my girlfriend, and so I'm annoyed. It's irritating me. And at one point, he waves me over. I'm like, is he out of his mind? Is he out of his mind? He's going to introduce me to the old guy. What in the right? So back in those days, I was still polite because I'm not any longer.
You
Which means I went over there where today I wouldn't. You know what I mean? I would
wouldn't it?
flip. I
Okay.
would flip. So I go over there because he's asking me to come over, and he introduces me to Steve, and I literally turned my head and nice to meet you, and because I'm thinking, well, what is this? So his name was Dana. So Dana goes, Steve, excuse us 1 second. We're in the back of the studio. The exit door's right to my left, and he grabs me by the elbow, literally, and throws me out the door. He goes, this is Steve Merritt. He's choreographing for, he's a choreographer for a national show. He lost one of his guys 4 months ago. He can't find anybody he likes. He likes you. How about you say hi to Steve, you idiot?
And you're just like, oh,
I
oh.
mean, what? That's what that was. Okay, so assumption out the window. So I go
Mhm.
back and meet Steve, and he tells me the same thing. Listen, I have a national show. We're touring all over the place in segments of 3 months. I lost one of my guys 4 months ago. I can't seem to replace him. I've had auditions throughout the city for 4 months now. I can't find a replacement for him. You're exactly what I'm looking for. Are you interested?
Yeah.
What the hell? I have my own Hollywood story. At a
Yeah.
party, 2 days in town, I get like scouted in the studio. I mean, uh, so I
Like,
go,
you're a lucky man.
it's just crazy. So my first react my next question is like, well, what's the show? He goes, it's Chippendales. Now, I don't know if you've been around dancers or actors, right, or
Oh,
singers. They could be very snooty. They're very snooty. They can be very, very freaking snooty, right? So ask a girl dancer where she strips if she'll punch you. You know what I mean? Because it's exactly the opposite of who they are. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like the training they take that takes place since, whatever. So Chippendales, I'm like, I think you have the wrong guy. I'm a professional trained commercial jazz dancer. I'm not a stripper, but I realized I look like one, right? Like, so that's what he's looking at. Somebody who can dance who looks the part. This is what he's having a hard time finding. Got it. But he goes, okay, well, how much money do you make being a professional jazz dancer? I got a job for you, 1,000 a week. I'm like,
Good money back then.
Back then it was nuts. No expenses, right? Because they pay for everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, hmm. He goes, look, I need you. I need you. It says this is Saturday night at the party. He goes, we start rehearsal on Monday, so I need to know if you're in because we start Monday, 2 days from there. That means I'm not doing the demo reel. I'm not dance captain. I mean, like everything's out the window, and I have to send my girlfriend home by herself, right? So I'm like, and then he says, "Well, hold on. He says you're amazing, but you have the look that I need, but I need to know if you like." So he says, "Are you guys rehearsing tomorrow?" I go, "Yeah." He says, "Well, I'll come back tomorrow in the morning, right?" And he says, "I'll just watch you do your thing." Anyway, so the next day morning, of course, I'm rehearsing, and 5:30, 10:30 in the morning, I see the black Corvette enter the parking lot in the back through the back open door that I was just thrown out of to get some sense knocked into me. And he comes around the other side, and in the studio there was a big viewing window, so you could view class from the waiting area. He stood there for 4 minutes, and he goes, "I go, okay, guys, break." I go outside. He goes, "All right,
Okay, you got it.
I need you. I need you. We start tomorrow at 9 o'clock at Catnap Studio in Venice. Like, I need you. What do you say?"
I'll
And by then I talked to my girlfriend. She's like, "Dude, just
do it.
do it. Do it." Because me and her was not gonna it was more of a summer fling
Hmm.
that we knew it was just there was not something that's gonna it was gonna stick. We both knew it. We knew each other for years, and over the summer that had happened. But she's like, just your life. Go. Do it. You know? And so Monday morning, the next morning, it was literally started rehearsal. 3 weeks later on the road. And that was my first real big professional job. So I did that for a year and a half. Again, not a stripper, but in the show with strippers. And where the dancers with the energy with staging, where actually, the show was incredible. I have to tell you, the show was incredible.
Yeah.
The costumes, the lighting, the music, the sound, the 2,000 women every night, the
The
screaming.
show. Yeah.
It was a show. It was a show. It was really well done. It was really, really well done. And anyway, but it's also life on the road, no responsibilities, make money. We dance, we drank, we did drugs, and we played with the ladies all day long. Like, there's a lot of decadence. And as a stripper, you know, they only have to keep up their bodies. They don't really have anything else going, right? So every city we went to, we'd go to the gym and we'd get free entrance because we're the guys from Chippendales, and they all knew we were in town because back in those days they advertised in newspapers. So 6 weeks prior, everyone knew we were coming. So by the time we got anywhere, we're celebrities and they were waiting for us. So we pull up at the gym. Oh, you're the guys, right? So work out for free. Go to the tanning salon, tan for free, right? And so all of
You're
that
lovely.
machine, yeah. So again, uh, the guys could maintain their physiques and their tan, but I'm a dancer. I need to keep up my technique, my strength, and my time, you know what I mean? So the longer I was on the road, the more I felt like I was slipping away from really what I was meant to do. It was a great job. It was really fun, but very decadent and rather dangerous in the end
Yeah.
because
And did
it
any of
was
that stuff that you did on the road affect you in any way negative?
well, I no, I mean it was before I did, right? So just before when I started talking like Kevin, which was like the alpha dog of the group who had been doing it for 5 years, and he was completely twisted. He was
Mm,
completely twisted, and he was like never going to recover from this
yeah.
because you basically start believing that all women are the women that come to us, but they're all different colors, different style, different age, different ethnicity, right? And whether they're married or single or young or old, they all are trying to get in our rooms, and they do, right? And they bribe you with drugs and promises with money, and so you lose complete respect for women. And I want to say all women because they're all different every day, but there's thousands of them every day, right? So the ones who we end up messing with did some very messed up things. I'm just saying. So
Yeah.
you end
So
up losing
how,
res Yeah.
so how did you go from this professional dancer, I'm going to call
Yeah.
you professional dancer,
Yeah.
to shift to coaching? Now you're a coach. I mean, you have a project, Equinox
Equinox. Yeah.
Coaching. You
Yeah.
call it. Um,
So, well, part of
is
the
that
part
completely different?
I know, right? A completely different world. So what I noticed when I started acting like Kevin, started believing that all women are trash,
Mm,
right? And they're all like they'll do anything to get their way. And so we actually used to have conversation about we are the only people who actually know women because they say one thing, but we know look what they do. Look what they do. And again, they got wild, right? So when I started thinking like him after being exposed to this for about a year, I mean, a year and a quarter at that time, really fun the first 3 months. Second 3 months was really more fun. The night, like in segments of 3 months, it kind of woke me up from being. I was 24 years old, 25 years old, maybe. Right. So I kid in a candy store, but then like I saw like this is weird. This is dangerous. This is too much. It's easy to get lost in this. Literally lose your mind. And the moment the first time I said something like Kevin used to say so much, and I saw that he's broken for life. He was never going to be able to have a normal relationship with a woman. It had gone too far, right? Like I knew he was finished. So the one time that I said the same thing that used to come out of his mouth all the time, I'm like, oh, I'm turning to Kevin. And I realized that I was actually very conservative. I didn't know how conservative I was. Even though I look like this, I'm very conservative square. My thought was always a wife and kids. Somehow find my lady, right? After all this fun, by the way, you want to find somebody special because nobody was special. It was interesting. So it kind of woke
Contra-
me up to my natural essence that I actually kind of wasn't completely clear on necessarily and then wanted realized I'm very traditional in so many ways, and it was time to get back to me. So I quit, and then I went back to Los Angeles. I got settled, and I got an agent, and then music videos, movies, commercials, and I started auditioning and living at this. This is when Michael Jackson happened. This is when Prince happened. This is where Paul Abdul for 2 years, Julio Iglesias. So I managed to work with the big people, travel the world, by the way. So as a dancer, professional dancer, you perform in town, out of town. You tour all over the place. When you come back from tour or a performance or a show, you teach, right? So this took me around the world performing and teaching. Bangkok, Japan, right?
you were busy all the time,
All the time,
all the time.
all the time, all
Wow.
the time. It was fantastic. Now, part of that phase two of my life, like I said, was it sounds very glamorous to be on the road so much, but it's not. Ask anybody who tours. It's not glamorous after a while. All you do is the plane, the hotel room, the rehearsal, the dance, the show, the teaching, right? And the hotel room. And it's like it sounds glamorous, but it's
I,
exciting, but it
it is.
like anything else, right? So I did that for 15 years. But this whole time, because my brain is still inquiring, still watching, still questioning, still watching people, still studying temperaments and behavior, I was doing throughout all of this. I started doing personal development workshop at 23. So even before I went on the road.
Yeah.
So I continued doing this all the time just to understand me, to understand life, to understand money, to understand creating the life that you want, and to get all the demons out of my head from my childhood. So that was the machine. And I remember being in workshops in watching the leader, and I thought, I would be so good at this. I remember like
I would be a natural at this.
that would be not I'd be so natural at this. This is so like me teaching people about their condition, trying to get some input, some knowledge, right? Alleviate their pain, help them to live their dreams. So that was rumbling all the time. So after I stopped dancing, because I eventually I met my wife was one of my students. Oops. I mean, how else is this going to happen? Right. So, and she's a ballerina. So she'd moved from Virginia to come to visit LA. She ended up in my class and she basically never left. It was kind of crazy. She abandoned a contract. Ballerinas don't, it's so hard to get a contract as a ballerina. She had a contract to go back to after the summer and she didn't. She called them and said, I'm not coming back.
Stay behind.
I stayed behind and ta-da! Anyway, so we were together pretty much instantly. And, but I'm traveling the world. She's traveling differently, different circles about ballerina. She's very petite and she's tall and lean as a ballerina typically is. We got married, but we kept traveling and traveling and traveling. And at one certain point, I said, I want kids. We need
Mm,
to have kids. I want to have kids. And this kind of tormented me because I actually met my kids in a dream about 3 years before they were born. Like it was tugging at my heart. Like it was tugging at my heart. These two little spirits are screaming to come through. But she was terrified because she's little and it was going to ruin her body maybe and her career, right? So it took a minute. But anyway, by the time we decided to start a family, I'm not traveling any longer. I was not going to be an absent dad, right? So I literally changed my life completely. I called my agent and said, I'm not leaving town. So I'm not leaving town. So, and she was like, "What?" Like she goes, "You know how much money that's going to cost you?" I'm like, I'm not
great
leaving
news.
town.
Great.
I'm going to be in town to raise my kids and my family. So what I did is I opened a car business. Talk about a flip. I opened a car business because I'm a classic car fool. My brothers and my dad were all like car crazy. That's one of the good things that stuck to me from my family, like the love of old cars and classics and that kind of stuff. In Los Angeles, they were everywhere. Not as much any longer, but that was like 20 years ago, right? So for my love of cars, I thought this is a perfect way for me to like this. It's a business that makes me smile to save and rescue old cars and restore them and make a business out of it.
Ecosystem.
Right. So it would keep me grounded. And then if the job was, I could still just take a job, but I refused to travel. If it wasn't in LA, I wasn't doing it. So that went on for a couple of years. And then the business took me over completely. It exploded. And so it became phase two of my life and allowed me to buy a house and stay local when my kids were little. And then, when my business was 6 minutes from my house, unheard of in Los Angeles, 6 minutes from my house, and the school was 2 blocks away. So both me and my wife, I'm very proud of this. Both me and my wife were at every recital, every parade, every Easter, Halloween, Christmas, like anything. Like there was not my wife in the audience. It
You
was
did what you
both
did.
of us. It was both of us. It was always me and her. We're always present with our kids, and I have a huge amount of pride around that.
You should.
So yeah, thank you. So, okay, now phase three. So the car business is flying and I'm local. I'm not traveling any longer. I love it because people come to me as opposed to me getting on the plane. Ha! What a luxury. 6 minutes from my house. This is good.
Yeah.
Right? Different life completely. Um, 2006, because I'm still doing workshops and workshops and workshops and learning and personal development. 2006, I'm in Northern California in a business workshop because I'm trying to expand my business, my car business, to make more because I had limited knowledge. I took it to what I could, so I just want to expand. So I go and learn. On the flight back, it was Northern California. I had to fly by San Francisco. On the flight back, I'm sitting with a couple that I met that weekend, seemingly randomly. I thought life was random at the time still. Even all my ridiculous connections of everything that happened to me, I still thought life was random. I just thought I was lucky. So get this. This is pivotal. So the we're sitting in the same row. Her boyfriend and me. And she says to me, What are you doing next weekend? I go, next weekend I'm free. Why? She goes, You want to come to a workshop? It's free, it's on me. I'm like, of course. Are you kidding me? These things are expensive, right? She's
Ah,
inviting me because she knows me, likes me, whatever, right? I'm there. So, and then I go just like the chip and Dale, like, what's the story? Like, what's the workshop? Right? What's your national show? I say, what's the workshop? She goes, oh, it's called Understanding Women.
Your first thought was, maybe I shouldn't go, or should I
No,
go?
it was more like, that's so funny and that's so cute and really, like really, right? Now again, without
You
arrogance.
look like I need to understand women.
That's what exactly, right? So my life on the road and my life before the road and after the road, like I've never had a problem attracting women. I think I used to think, because now I know that's not what it was, but at the time that's what I thought. I thought like I have an artistic personality, I'm easygoing, right? Like, I'm not the big rah, rah, you kind of guy, Um, so I thought they're gonna teach, they're gonna teach us like to be nice and to be sweet and not to raise your voice, right? Like I was just like, what the hell are you gonna teach me? I have no, and I always attract, when people meet my wife, they go, "Oh my God, she's so lovely. She's so." I always attracted that type of woman. So I didn't do the drama and the screaming and the confusion. Like I attracted sweet women, and I thought it was because I'm a nice guy, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So what are you going to teach me? I want to spend a weekend in a damn workshop, right?
free.
Free, but I've been working all week, and so like this. I don't mind spending time in workshops, but it's got to be something I'm seeking out that I'm looking forward to that I want to learn something about. This is like, but I
Yep.
said I was going to go, so I went, and I remember walking in there sideways, thinking it's going to be cute and whatever. But when I got there, is one of the airport hotel in a big ballroom, and I walked in. There was 400 people in the room, half men. Huh? What are the women doing here? You know what I mean? Like, what is, like, if you did a workshop called Understanding Men, there would be no men in the room.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So understanding women, and half the room is women. I'm like, oh, this is weird. But I remember thinking something is going on here. Like I could feel it. There was something important here. So the workshop starts. I'm waiting for cuteness, and I'm going to tell you, I slipped off my chair 7 times to another workshop, like off my chair, with all the things that is to be a woman, how you process things, why you take everything personally, because you do, why everything's a question mark, why you get bent out of shape. You don't even know why. Like and stuff that, and the leader was amazing because she made sure there was a girl on both sides of each man. And after she dropped a bomb or something that we like, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
That's not possible. Because from a male's perspective and brain, like that's not possible. You cannot possibly be thinking that. You
Think he
cannot
would quit.
possibly. And then she goes, take a minute and ask the girls next to you, right? And the whole time I go, no, yeah, like, but that's ridiculous. We know that would make you crazy. We are sometimes, but we don't like to talk about it. But yeah, because that would make me crazy. That that's what occurs. And so it blew my damn brain all over the walls. Like my brain exploded. Like could not believe what I did not know. So I come home to my wife. By then we have a little baby and a toddler. When I'm not looking for this stuff, we're doing great, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah.
came home and she said it was white as a sheet. I was really upset because the caliber, like I missed. I was so off the mark with anything about that. We think we're more of a version of each other that we realize that we're not, like not even a little bit. So what happened is basically when I left there, I realized I knew nothing about women, not even a little bit. Like everything that's gone. So
You knew.
I know nothing. And worst of all, apparently we constantly as men hurt your feelings and we don't even know we're doing it. So I realized, okay, I know nothing. I'm doing this to my wife. This is dangerous. I have my wife, my family. I'm not going to be a statistic because I didn't know, right? There goes my brain again.
Yeah, because now
So,
you know.
well, I knew some, but I realized it was just a piece of the puzzle. I mean, 7 big bombs, but I mean, that was just like scratching the surface of everything that goes on with a woman, with a man, in the realm of relationships and the dynamic and how do you negotiate things and how do you patch things up and how do you conflict resolution because we'll collide because we operate differently and we're not in any way similar, right? That whole idea out there that equality is great in the realm of business and money, but we start thinking now that men and women are more men and women are equal, as an equal being. And to think that a woman, is she has more, if a woman's masculine is and strong, independent, and powerful makes her a better woman, I'm going to tell you as a man, no, no. And to think that women like men to be sweet and sensitive and nice and vulnerable and nice guys, they don't, right? These guys don't make you feel safe. So the dismantling of the gender, right, dynamics differences is not helping, is making things worse because we end up trying to make each other act like the other. And nothing about that is more it's not Mars and Venus, it's two different freaking galaxies. A man will never act like a woman, will never think like a woman, never talk like a woman, will never like communicate like a woman, will never bond like a woman, will never share his feeling like a woman. We can't. We're not wired for this. We're wired the exact opposite. We're hunters, by default. You're gatherers. Two different machine, two different brains soaked in two different chemistry, testosterone and estrogen. It creates different behavior, different wants, different needs, so that's the part that's dangerous. We keep trying to make the other one like us, and this is why people collide, and as opposed to embrace our differences. Anyway, so now I'm going off, but
No, no, no. That's
I
good.
ended up going home and I said, I I need to learn all this. And then the researcher in me went crazy. So I jumped in the company. I took all their workshops. I think they had 11 or so workshops.
Oh, you dived
Understanding,
into it.
I dove right in to soak all that up again for me and my wife, just for my. You have to understand also, out of my family, all my brothers and sisters are separated, divorced twice, three times. My one's on four, for Christ's sake. I have my angel. I
Wonderful
have
to
my
hear.
wife. I have my angel. My wife. I have my family. I'm blissfully happy. I have everything I want, and I might mess it up because I don't know what I'm doing to her. Like so that made me crazy. That's why I was scared. That's why I came home upset because I like this is really dangerous. So I dove in, I took all their workshops, and as soon as I did with the whole cycle, paid for everything, I went back as an assistant because you can after doing a workshop, you could actually come and assist for free. So I would assist all their workshop almost every weekend just to be in the room, just to hear it again, just to hear it differently from a different teacher, different questions, right? Like there's so much details. And of course, within a year, they asked me to be a workshop leader.
There you go.
There you
Wow.
go, right? Story of my life. Now, that didn't turn out the way we both wanted it. There was too much political stuff in that company, but that was just step
Yes,
one.
sir. That was
That
step
was just
one.
step one, and then continue studying and researching. It's with four other masters in the field. Dr. Pat Allen, Los Angeles, a family child marriage therapist for 48 years. I sat with her in semi-private settings, like five of us, taught us everything she knows over 3.5 years of all her research, all her dynamic, all her tools, crazy stuff, incredible stuff. Esther Perel, who's in New York City, who's now famous at the time she wasn't, about love and intimacy, why people cheat, like another layer in the dynamic of relationships, right? Men, women, men, men, women, all of that. John Gray, Mars and Venus, his material the past 10, 15 years has all been about the chemistry of our bodies that makes us act different. So all these specialists have specialties within the realm of relationship. I study with all of them.
That's amazing.
And on the other side, here I am doing this is my life now. I'm a relationship coach and I teach men and women, men, men, women, women, because it's all the same. It's not a between your legs, it's not it's the dynamic that we now know exactly people who succeed having long-term, healthy, fulfilling relationship, what they do. And it's
Yeah.
not what anything the culture is teaching. It's exact opposite. So that's how we got to be here. Sorry, that was a long story.
Oh, that's okay. No, 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 no. If someone is struggling in a relationship right now, I mean, a lot of people will say, go to counseling, go to therapy.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
is should they be doing that, or are
Well,
there different way of communication skills? Like, what is it? Well, what's the
well,
key?
in in the United States, therapy is um all right, so this is why it fails. I want to tell you this. So therapy works well on women, it does not work well on men. And I'm saying this because the talk therapy, which is a basic therapy system where you talk about your problems, therapists are not trained to really to help you. They're trained to listen to you. When a woman is heard and tells her trouble to somebody, she feels better. But there's no tool to actually change anything. Does that make sense? The model, the business model is to listen to somebody, take some notes, and have it in their file. But very few therapists, some do, they're better than most. But the model is let them talk, they feel better. A couple of
And
suggestions
then
and check. Come back next week. Come back next week, and they fill up their calendars to keep people on the rotation. I have a client who was in therapy for 9 years, and nothing's changed in her life. She did the program with me. In 6 months, her life was different. A year later, it's a completely different life because we actually managed to take the trauma off our nervous system, right? That's the work that I do. I can't get anybody in a healthy relationship until we get the baggage off your life, off of you.
and how do you
And
do that?
I
How
use,
how how do you test it?
there's different techniques. We call it somatic work. NLP work, neuro linguistic programming. We literally just clean up the subconscious of false beliefs that keep you programmed into. If you think you're not good enough or that men are dangerous, you're going to keep attracting men who are dangerous. Right? If you think you're not worthy of being loved, you're going to find people and a man who will confirm that. This is the tragedy of our brains as humans. We don't do what we want. We think we do. We simply repeat what we know. So if your childhood has been challenging with men, your life relationship with men will be challenging. No daddy, bad daddy, right? Whatever. Same with women, or mother for son. So it's the decisions that we made that are completely that we've forgotten as children about life, people, ourselves, and the world. The world is a scary place. I have to take care of myself. No one will care for me, right? I'm not good enough. I will never amount to anything. Men are dangerous, women are crazy, whatever. These things run the show. When people say we only use 10% of our brains, right? You've heard this.
Mm-hmm.
Factual. It's actually more like five, is because 95% of our lives are run by the subconscious that is we're completely blind to. So if you think you're not good enough or you're not worthy of love and protection and provision from a man as a woman, you're going to keep attracting men who will confirm that. You know what I mean? So we have to clear that up for you to actually be a choice. And every masculine woman that I work with, every feminine man that I work with is traumatized. Something happened in childhood, and we have to take that off the nervous system. So I do, like I said, neuro linguistic programming or reprogramming to literally blank out and release from the trauma from the nervous system. And all of a sudden they can think and they have choice and they could actually attract the right mate per their energy being clean and understanding. And from there, I teach them like I have the owner's manual for men and for women. So ladies don't know how to date men. You girls don't know what men are looking for in a date, right? You think it's your hair or your lip liner or looking perfect, and it's none of that. It's none of that. Men have very specific needs. Like they know exactly why they're on a date, and but you don't. So often you'll mess it up and you have no idea why you mess it up. And do you know what I mean? So that has to be learned. Do you know what I
So
mean?
you're
On both
teaching
sides.
people, yeah, teaching the tools of how to do
You
this
need
to
the
them.
tools, first, second, third date, and then fourth, and then on forward. And when you cross over into intimacy, there's a whole formula to this. Again, it's all based in nature. It's not my opinion. I'm not a moralist. It's not about that. It's what works best. We're studying people for decades about this. Interestingly enough, the people who have healthy long-term relationship, straight, gay, or lesbian couples, because I know two couples of men who have been together for 30 years plus, right? It's not about like why do they flow, right? Because some gay couple want to kill each other and some do that. So some people seem to have a natural ability to create healthy bonds, right? So I would say they're healthy bond type people, right? They have a secure attachment style first. But how do you get to flow 30 years without any training? Some people know how to do this naturally. The rest of us have to learn. It's a very small amount of people, right? My point is when we study all couples who have happy relationships, they all do the same thing. Do you want to know what that is?
I do. We're gonna end with that. We're gonna end with that.
Yes.
First. What is the key?
One is more masculine in essence and energy. The other one is more feminine. One leads more and is likes to lead. The other one supports more and would rather support because they don't want to lead because it's too stressful for them. Whether it's a man, or woman, woman, or man and woman, the relationship that flourish and lasts or is successful and thrive, one leads and one supports the lead. Driver, driver, navigator, pilot, co-pilot.
Yeah.
If both go for the wheel, which is what the culture is teaching, the
We can.
plane crashes. The plane crashes. So there's a natural way to do this. It's not about being a doormat, by the way. Being a supporter is not being a doormat. Being a supporter is essentially a big part of the machine flying.
Mm.
Do you realize that like an air a pilot of an airplane does not do anything that the co-pilot does at all. Like the pilot is only looking constantly at the instruments and the gauges. The co-pilot is the one looking outside for the runway, for the weather, for whatever it is. Like they don't interchange their roles. They're
They
very
have, I was just
distinct.
going to say that. Yeah, they have two different things that they're looking at, two different things that they have to do in order
You know,
to
to keep
get.
the plane in the air. Do you know what I mean? The pilot never looks outside. That's his job, and everything else he does as co-pilot, right? So relationships are the same. So I'm going to give you this. See, look behind. It's my wife and I ballroom dancing.
Oh, that's sweet.
Now this is pilot co-pilot,
Yeah,
right? This is this. There's no competition
there's no
here. We're working
competition.
together, right? We're complementary to each other, right? What I bring to the table as a man to provide, protect, cherish, give, support her and the kids, right? What she does in exchange for me is she believes in me and supports me energetically. She's the win in my sales. So I need her to be this man, and she needs me to take care of them financially and every other way as a male, as a provider. It's yin yang. It's black and white. It's coming
And that
together
works.
as two different
That works
pieces. That's
great.
how it works. It's a dance, right? And in between all that, there's the we have to negotiate our wants and needs, so can get in the flow in that. And so none of it is really complicated. Yet, if you follow the culture, you're not going to make this happen because we have women raised to be masculine, independent, and powerful, and they don't take orders from nobody. Interesting, but they'll take orders from their boss all day long and acquiesce to the boss, so they keep the job. But they refuse to do it with the guy that lives in their house. It's very strange,
Yeah.
very very strange. So that doesn't work, right? And men have learned that they're not supposed to lead because it's toxic, and they're turned into like passive, nice guys, do nothing. Where do you want to go for dinner? Do I see you this weekend? Do you think we could see, right? Which women hate. They think they're being nice. They don't want to be toxic, right? So they've been shamed out of their masculine, which makes women feel uncherished. And women have been masculinized, and masculine men don't want anything to do with these women. So everybody loses. That's the culture.
Everybody
So
needs. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you're not happy, right? I mean,
no one's happy. Yeah.
yeah, I look at that painting of you and your wife, and you guys, yes, you're together, you're flowing, but you seem happy. Like you
Yeah.
know, posture, you're like, this is her. You guys are showing off each other, right?
Right.
This
Yeah.
is her, this is him. We've
This is
accomplished.
my baby. This is my baby. This is my wife. Like, there's a bond that's created in all this as well,
That's
where
how marriage is, right? It's not competition. It's,
uh,
you're both in it together. You're both
that's it.
for this, right? But I
Yes,
do agree. Someone has to lead that dance, right?
absolutely. And the data says that as well, right? So I'm the king of data. I'll give you data coming out your ears and statistics and numbers, to back all this up. And there's this even in this culture, and for women who are strong, independent, and have enough money to have children and raise children on their own, they still rather have a man at the helm of the family. They still want that because a woman can relax when somebody else is taking the leadership. Again, but it's a partnership, right? We work together.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the key is
It's
working
so
together. And you
yeah,
know what? From your short time of telling me a little bit about your life, I feel like so much more to know. Um,
yeah,
just amazing how that little boy with scared, shy, just overcame all of that.
mm,
You overcame everything, and I think you took every opportunity. And every opportunity that was presented to you, you took it. You did not hesitate it, even if you thought about it a little bit. You saw that opportunity and you just right to it. That's
yeah.
amazing. It takes guts,
Yeah, yeah. No, I think in the beginning I had nothing to
right? Like
lose,
resilience. That's
you
what
know.
we do
But
it, right?
yeah, it was always like, hey, sure. Oh, yeah. Oh, let's go. Right. Like let's see what this takes us. Right. Like in the beginning, I said I had nothing to lose, but as it kind of progressed, you're right. I really kept stepping into it like constantly. Like,
And you kept your priorities right. You
yeah,
kept priorities right, which is great. Um,
right.
because you could have just continued touring and making lots of money.
Yeah,
Took a
yeah,
good time. You're like, no, my children, I want them to have
yeah,
what maybe you
yeah,
didn't have,
yeah.
right? That was to be there for them, to be present.
Mm, mm, mm.
And at the end of the day, probably when you're an older man looking back, that's probably the stage you're gonna look at and be like, you know what? I'm glad I was there for those kids,
Oh,
right?
to this day, I'm going to tell you, I tell this to everybody. The best thing I've done is having my children,
Yeah.
finding my wife, my angel, and then for us to raise these two beautiful souls. It's the best thing. I mean, of all the stuff that I've accomplished, that takes the cake. Period, flat out, straight up, nothing to beat it. So,
No, I believe you. No, I
period.
have, yeah, I have three sons too. And at the end
So
of the
again,
day,
thank you
you know
so
what?
much.
That
Very
and
welcome. My
we'll keep those
pleasure. What
around you.
else?
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right,
Yeah,
Ollie. What
thank
else matters? What else matters, really?
exactly, exactly. Well, Andre, thank you so much for being part of this episode. I appreciate it so much. And I hope
Absolutely. My
you have
pleasure. Thank you.
a lovely day. And like I said, and I hope our listeners will take the opportunity to either do on one or two or both,
Yep.
because there's nothing wrong with knowing a little bit more, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
sometimes you think everything is okay, and then you might have 15 minutes and find out that there is something in your subconscious that is
Yep.
stopping you from
Yep.
living a happy life.